Hey everyone, Angelo here, Hollywood filmmaker, greatest screenwriter in the history of the world, recovering hobo, and it is down to just two people in this apartment now. We lost one guy who got, while the getting was good, he just moved out. That was last December. I remember it was like right after I think I got over COVID, or as I was getting over it, and he was obviously getting sick and not taking it seriously. But anyways, nice guy. Also, he did give me this shirt. Shout out, man, for being a cool guy. We lost the terrorist girl who lived here, and now it's apparent my alcoholic roommate ran away. He just took his stuff and left. And he was declining worse and worse. And that's not to make fun of people with alcoholism. He's a really good guy when he's not under the influence. And even when he is under the influence, but as he descends, it's the same, with a lot of people with addiction. They do things that when they're sober or when they become sober and recovered, they're absolutely ashamed of. And this guy, I can see he was doing that. And again, it's nothing to make fun of or like create into spectacle. It's just remarkable now. Like, this is my life in LA. This is so many people's lives is dealing with this stuff. And, he's obviously dealing with a terrible time. And he's, some of it's self inflicted. But, anyways, so we're in this bizarre situation here. We're being evicted. We don't know when we're going to have to leave. The guy rent from, if you look at my YouTube shorts, you'll see a video of him. Again, like good guy. Like, we can talk anytime, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to get us to be able to stay. He thinks he'll be able to. And I'm like, dude, they're suing you for like almost $10,000. And I'm not even clear that's all he owes. It might be more than that. It just, that's what they decided to sue him for. I don't understand all the details. My understanding now, what I've learned is because the courts are clogged up in LA for evictions, especially after the COVID tenant protections expired, which great policy, by the way. Just kick a bunch of people out of their homes. It may take a few months, so we may have a few months here still. I'm not sure. Like, when I find out, I find out. But about the roommate who moved out, my drunk roommate, he was just becoming a mess. And this is more a cautionary tale of don't mess up your kids. Don't have kids if you're not ready for them. Because he told me, first of all, he would just tell me, bro, I'm an alcoholic. Like, he would just straight up tell me that. And he also told me his dad had him drinking at a young age. His dad was horribly abusive, like incredibly controlling. He said he had to kick his dad out. I'm like, how the hell did that happen? Him and his mom, and I guess his sister. And lately he had been getting worse and worse. And what happened a few days ago, he was trying to get me to fight him. And it was really making my hair stand up, like creeped out, like how far in reality is he? He's like in this like self-induced or alcohol-induced psychosis. I won't go into all the details because he was just talking absolute nonsense. But basically, he was saying stuff about wanting to commit violence, being out in fights on the street, how he's so hapless in just getting in these fights on the street that he can't control. And the way he's telling them, I'll just be real simple, but I could go over every little detail. It's absurd, though, is he was probably talking shit to people. He was insulting them and letting them feel they had no choice but to fight him. And sometimes they do fight him on the street. So he'd come home with bruises and stuff. And then he came home the other day and said two guys jumped him on the bus. And I'm like, first of all, he was so drunk going to work. I don't know how he would have made it through his shift. I knew he was always drunk and high at his job. But he said he got off at the wrong bus stop. Two guys beat him up. He fought them, but then they got the better of him. He had some new lumps on his face. He said he was so mad. He wanted to attack them. He wanted to get them. He thought the government was trying to kill him, the Illuminati, the FBI, the CIA. Or he thought it was a ghost. There was a ghost, too, that literally grabbed his heart and tried to pull him up. And he carved something into his hand with a knife, some kind of symbol that he said would protect him from a ghost. It was so pathetic to see. And he's still convinced of all that. And then he started mixing me into the whole story. So he was saying something like, God made the world in 7 days, whatever. He was listening to some hip hop song about God making the world, and then he just kept saying it was 7 days. Then he started kind of, creeping, like sharking on me, talking some weirdo stuff about me. He picked up his microphone and he was saying how he wanted to fight these guys on the street, and he pulled his arm back and did this to me, but he held on to it. He faked threw it at me, and I ducked. I went, Jesus. And he's like, what, bro? I'm not going to attack you. Like, I'm not going to hurt you. And I was trying to tell him, look, be cool. Like, we're roommates. We get along. And then he started saying some shit about the other guy we live with now. Well, now he's the only guy I live with here. Because the drunk roommate, there's this whole story where he tried to provoke him into a fight a few weeks ago. He got really drunk. He was trying to provoke him and other people into a fight. My roommate had to hold him down to the ground. And my roommate, the way he described it, he was being super nice even when he had to hold him down to the ground. But the drunk roommate pulled a knife on him. And my other roommate said he actually cut his arm. And I guess he didn't cut him that badly, but he cut his arm and stuff. But I don't know how my other roommate kept it like cool in his head. Me, I'm like, okay, he's threatening my life at that point, if that happened to me. And it's not that I would want to fight him at that point. I'm like, first of all, it's dangerous. And it's like so pathetic. He's trying to make other people be bad people. So what he was doing, so he told me that whole story. And I'm like, yeah, this guy's a mess. And my roommate was like, yeah, I can't ever bring him out again. They were out at some club somewhere. So he faked threw this thing at me, and I see what he's doing. Like, he's giving me no choice but to fight him. Like, but he doesn't want to hit me. He wanted me to hit him. And then he was saying weird stuff about how I drew his blood, or I came from the future and I'm shedding his blood and stuff. He doesn't know my mom, but he was saying stuff about my mom. You can use your imagination on that. He was trying to say some really nasty stuff. And I was like, okay, I was making food in the kitchen, put it in the fridge, stepped out in the hall in my shorts and white t-shirt, called the guy I rent from. I'm like, hey, he's acting super weird. Like, he's trying to get me to fight him. Like, I don't know what this is going to lead to, because even if I fight him, I don't want to hurt him. I doubt he could have hurt me. Like, he is so flabby and weak. He talks about, like, oh, he's undefeated in fights. I'm like, come on, man. Like, but it would be horrible, because it's like, why? Like, he wants me to be the bad guy and hit him first. He was not willing to do it if he wanted to fight me. My other roommate was saying, yeah, when he like held him down, or like when he got ready to fight him, he said he put his fists up because the drunk roommate kept threatening him, and he's like, all right, let's fight then. My cool roommate. And then supposedly the drunk roommate was like, whoa, dude, you're taking it too far, whatever, something like that. So he immediately tried backing off. You see, he's like edging, like trying to provoke people to relive his childhood trauma, where his dad was the one who had beat him up. And to everybody, or to him, everybody becomes dad when he's drunk. And I'm like, yeah, that ghost you think is attacking you, you're conjuring it up yourself. But anyways, he did this stuff to me, and it was weird. I noticed, okay, he's not following me out into the hall. So I was waiting in the hall. I called the guy I rent from. I said, hey, can you come over? Like, I want to witness. Because he's acting super weird. But he didn't come out and attack me. So I'm like, oh, I see. He's trying to get me to hit him. Still, it would have been stooping to his level in such a way I would never live it down if I had to fight him for nothing, basically. But he knew how to play it to like give me virtually no choice. Like, just faking throwing that microphone itself was a threat. But after 10 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever, outside in the hall, the guy came out dressed for work. I'm like, he is so wasted. I don't see how they would let him into work. I don't know if he did work that day or not. He said later, I talked to him, because we were talking again, even though he's always messed up, and he said he didn't remember. I said, you left for work that? He didn't say anything about threatening me. I'm not sure if he remembered that or not. But I tried to switch topics, because he was talking again some wild stuff about bloodshed and everything. And this is like 3 days ago, something like that. And he's saying all that stuff, and I say, hey, how's work been? He's like, oh, real good. He like shifted gears totally. He's like, oh, it's real good, man. They're treating me real well. I was like, that's good. Not like your last job. You know, you said they were treating me badly. He's like, no. And he's like, when I got jumped by those guys on the bus, I'm lucky I got off at the wrong bus stop, and my coworker happened to be there, and she was real nice to me. And it was messed up. He's like, man, I wish she was hotter, but She was real nice to me. And then he just started sobbing, like literally crying right there. And I was relieved. I was glad. I was like, one, he's opening up and trying to feel real emotions. So good. Stop being this fake persona, this all everything you're creating around you, the alcohol, the tough guy fighting and stuff. I don't care if you're saying you're a tough guy or not. It's just obnoxious to like tell this story to build yourself up, like to work yourself up, I should say, into a frenzy where he always is thinking he has to fight. Always he's talking about why he goes on runs. He jogs around the neighborhood or around LA. He's like, because he wants to be able to be fast to fight. He doesn't want to lift weights because he doesn't want to look big, because if he gets in a fight, he wants people to underestimate him. I'm like, come on, man, you're flabby as hell. You're weak as hell. Like, who are you kidding? But on top of being drunk, like, yeah, that could potentially help you in a fight, but it's also serious liability to try and fight drunk. And he was trying to get himself hurt or killed, because he told me like the other day, he's like, somebody chased him through the somewhere with a knife, and he tried to go to the cops, and the cops fired a stun gun at him. By the way, my cool roommate told me my drunk roommate pulled out a stun gun and fired it, like to show what he could do. He's like, dude, if I wanted to hurt you, this is what I would do. So I'm like, yeah, you were probably talking shit to the guy with the knife, and I don't know what happened with this cop, if they were there or not. But anyways, he was crying, and I actually like felt for him. And I'm like, first of all, good. Like, it's you getting in connection with your actual, like, authentic self. It's you feeling regret and pain or whatever it is. And he's like, there's so many people in the world I want to help. It's also you being, to me, that's more strength. That's showing a lot of strength rather than talk this fake, it's just nothing of a life. Drinking and drugs and just constantly and medicating himself 24/7. Like, he would get up at 4 a.m. when he'd be sleeping on the couch, just get up, start drinking his 6-pack or whatever, Hennessy. I'm like, dude, it's so pathetic. Just that motion of, reaching for a shot glass of Hennessy at 4 a.m. But he was crying, saying he can't help everybody. And I was just commiserating. I was trying to be present and also to show him, hey, like, let me, you can show some humanity to me. That's how you validate yourself with me. Let me draw out some humanity. And it may have been the next day, if not the next day, then a day later, that he disappeared. I saw all his liquor bottles were gone. Usually he always has stuff out, his laptop, his TV. So he just left. He may have gone to a family member's house. I don't want to speculate too much, but I heard like where he may have gone, and so be it. I'm like, this is not surprising at all. People with addiction, when they start doing stuff like this, they cannot connect with people, because if you're not going to bolster their addiction, then you're a threat to their addiction, because you reflect back to them their pain and their shortcomings and their bad behavior. The fact that I would not participate in his bad behavior, who knows how it would have went had I gotten in a fight with him. Also, there's the fact that, like, I didn't know what state of mind he was in, so I'm like, I don't know if I fight him. Regardless of how the fight goes, he knows where I sleep. Like, he knows how to get me 24/7. Yeah, basically 24/7, because he knows where I live. He knows where I sleep. I got to walk through the hall past his room and past the living room to go out the apartment. So I'm like, how would that be good? Now I've created a new enemy, and not just created a new one, it's because I couldn't skillfully talk my way out of it or get out of the situation. But fortunately, that day I was waiting out the hall. He left for work. He said some wild stuff. He's like, he said something like, bro, like, you think I'm guilty of something? I said, no. He's like, why? You think I did something? I said, chill. And he said, do you want me to go to jail? And I said, no. And I know I said all that because I filmed it and I watched it back a few times to see what he was like. And then he just left for work. I'm like, oh, so that was all totally performative. All that pretending to fight and antagonizing me. It was just him needing to bolster his worldview, in which his view of himself as his dad's victim makes sense to him, and it will always be perpetuated, and he'll always be trying to reclaim or claim control of that trauma, mastery over that trauma. And I could see it was coming out, like his real self behind all that, persona he was creating, was threatening to come through, and it was going to be exposed like a raw nerve, and it was going to hurt him terribly. He couldn't keep trying to fight with people. He couldn't keep trying to wall himself off from his real emotions. And I saw him cry. And I respected that and admired that. I'm like, good. You're being real. You're being authentic. You're being human. It had the benefit for me of letting him see, hey, you can be real with me. Like, it's better, you can bond with me over real stuff and your real self. Don't try and bond with me over trying to fight me. And so hopefully he would have felt more comfortable. My thinking was he'll feel more comfortable being open with me and less fake and less boisterous about how amazing he's doing and all that, because it's all an act. There's no words. There are no words that actually would mean anything in these exchanges. And yeah, he just left. He took all his stuff. The guy I rent from, he came to check his room because he's been trying to talk to him. He's still thinking we could still rent this place to people. I'm like, that's not going to happen if we're being evicted. But he was thinking we can't rent it if this guy's out of control. And he's been trying to call the drunk roommate, and the drunk roommate's been avoiding him. And so he went into his room, and my other roommate, who knew more of his stuff, knew more of his situation, said, yeah, his stuff's gone. Yeah, his clothes, there was some stuff there, his bed sheets or whatever, but he's taken everything. He may have gone, he probably went, I will say, I was saying I won't speculate, but probably went to his mom's house, and he probably couldn't take, being around people who could see who he was, like people he was around enough, or around long enough to see a pattern instead of just showing up and presenting this image of himself. And I could see that in his job history. He couldn't keep a job more than like 3 months. And this isn't all to hate on him. Yes, he made bad decisions, but it's just the reality of the world and of addiction, which is that for whatever reason, our genetics and our experiences and trauma hardwire us to be predisposed certain ways, and some people have that component of addiction in them, and then once you get that, it's almost impossible to break away from. You don't even want to. If you have an addiction, it's like you need whatever that thing is that you're addicted to worse than air, practically. So he ran off, and man, it's amazing. It's kind of surreal. I was literally worried, like thinking I'm going to hear he's dead on the news, because he literally told me once too. He's telling me how this guy chased him with a knife, and he was leaving. The fact that he talked about jail meant to me, it's like, oh, he wants to go to jail. He's thinking about it. It's on his mind. Nobody put that in his mind. He put it there. And after he told me about the guy chasing him with a knife, and it's like, again, stop validating yourself with all these ridiculous stories that, it probably happened, I guess, but not the way he said it. He probably provoked the guy. And he said, hey, bro, just remember, if I die, I didn't die like a bitch. And he told me that before, like, at least if I die, I'm not going to die like a bitch. Like, he's not going to be a coward about it. I'm like, oh, so he's fixing to die. He wants to die. He wants to provoke someone to kill him, but not really. He still wants to be the victim, but he wants to be the one who engineers his own victimization. And that's, vintage behavior of, well, it's a bad way of coping with abuse and trauma. It's not how everybody with trauma reacts, but for some people, it becomes the way they make sense of the world, and that's what I saw in him. So how surreal is all that? This is my experience of LA. I would have never in a million years guessed, and it's not that shocking that it happened. I'm like, oh, this makes perfect sense. He left. It's the accumulation of everything I'm going through, and I still view it as like a book. I'll get a book of poetry. I'm gonna read some of this. I read this already, but I want to read some of these later. It's like I can see myself just one thin little sheet of paper at a time, and it's like I'm right around here, and it's like I don't know how tomorrow's gonna unfold, and the next day, and the next day. It's all gonna add up to another section of wild stories, incredible stories. It's not okay. So anyways, what's the point of the video? It's not like I'm that shocked. I'm not like emotionally rocked or anything by him leaving. I'm like, first of all, good. It's a relief. It's just kind of surreal in a way. I'm grateful for, like, wow, like I came here thinking this apartment would be one thing, And now it's turned into something totally different. And it's a privilege to be able to see how things change. It's not good to see someone, going through what he's going through and potentially doing stuff to other people that he's doing. That is not good. But it's a privilege just to be able to witness stuff and to be alive for it and to be well and healthy. I got to eat a little better. I had some coconut cheesecake last night. Oh man, this was the first time in years I had cheesecake. But it's so like consciousness changing in a way to see accumulate all these experiences here in LA of the people I'm encountering, what I'm dealing with. And I can really see it's a different world from Virginia in a lot of ways. I'm sure a lot of people in Virginia go through this stuff. I went through some wild stuff in Virginia. But ultimately, LA is the place that I think, here's where I belong or fit in or whatever you want to. I don't want to say belong because it sounds so like overly, I'm overly wording it. It's not that I belong wherever I am, but to me, it's just a place I love. And again, I don't like that people are going through this stuff. That's why I said don't have kids if you're going to mess them up. Get yourself right before you have kids. You don't have to have kids. But also, there should be treatment for people who want it and supportive housing and all that stuff. And what can you do? Addictions are very hard. You could put someone in rehab 100 times, I'm sure. If they don't want to be clean or recovered, they're not going to. Anyways, I don't want to get too far off into these grand points, and I'm tired too. But it's been an interesting couple of weeks. Man, just so much wild stuff going on. And I already know, the next week, the next 2 weeks, the next month is going to be so different. And it's good. It's like I'm fortunate to witness all that. I'm so privileged to be able to see all this and contextualize it and take it with me as experience and just learn from it. And also growing out my hair. I'm just sick of going to barbers and salons, so I'll see what happens. Does anyone have recommendations? It's getting pretty long. Did people normally cut it around here but let it grow longer certain ways? I don't know what people recommend. I literally just got it cut short, I don't know how many months ago, and I just let it get away from me to go to the salon for a while. Barbershops never cut my hair well in LA. And it was expensive too, and I was like, I'll just let it grow. And I'm like, well, I kind of like how it looks long. I don't know how long I want to let it grow or where it needs to be trimmed and maintained and all that. My sideburns are real long. I don't know what people recommend. At some point, I guess I'll get it cut. But for now, hey, I'm saving money and time. And I'll need it because at some point I'm going to have to move. We are being evicted. So we'll see how that all goes. Anyways, I got to get reading. I'm reading The Night Manager by John le Carre. Got to work on my writing. I'm in between classes. My next class starts in a little over a week. Got so much to do. And going to keep making videos. Hit 20,000 subscribers recently. How cool is that? So thanks everybody. Thanks everyone for subscribing. Keep watching the videos. Also, I probably won't be able to take any of these posters. The way they're mounted, it's going to be too much of a hassle when I move. I'll take that painting and this what do you call it, piece of art from the Thien Hau Temple that I got. But yeah, a lot of this stuff I can't take. I already figured that whenever I moved out of here. I'm like, too bad, but it'll be here for the next person. So let me know what you think. Click like, subscribe, tell your friends, and comment. That's the other one. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.